Just because a gun looks mean in the brochure doesn't mean it won't choke before you hit 1,000, 2,000 rounds. I've seen it happen way too often, especially once you start running them in mud, rain, and even dry heat. What's up, everyone? This is your boy Ted from Line 45, and today I'm running down the guns that are notorious for giving up before hitting before or around 1,500 rounds, like they were built for the shelf, not the field. Before anything else, let me do this quick plug. Hit the like and subscribe buttons, all the buttons that you can see below. Don't forget to leave a comment too. I know it feels like a hassle, but those things help my channel a lot. Now, let's get back to the good stuff. Kimber Solo Carry. I had high hopes for the Kimber Solo Carry. I really did. You see that price tag hovering around $800, the stainless steel slide, the sleek, almost custom feel of the frame, and you would really be compelled to think that this thing gotta be solid. It's compact, chambered in 9mm, weighs just under 18 ounces, and has a 2.7-inch barrel, basically built to be the Ferrari of pocket pistols. But the moment I started running it like an actual carry gun, regular range trips, defensive drills, varied ammo, the whole illusion fell apart. It's hands down one of the most ammo-picky, high-maintenance pistols I've ever run. The first red flag about this gun is that Kimber straight up tells you in the manual that it only runs reliably with premium factory-loaded 124 or 147 grain high-velocity ammunition. You try feeding it standard 115 grain FMJ, even quality stuff, and it'll start choking like it skipped breakfast. I was clearing failure to feed and slide lock malfunctions right out of the first 150 rounds. And that's even after cleaning it and oiling it up like I was prepping it for a damn photo shoot. Mechanically, it's over-engineered in the wrong ways. The recoil system uses a strong dual recoil spring assembly that rides on a guide rod setup that doesn't play nice if things aren't lined up just right. After a few hundred rounds, you can feel the slide get sluggish from fouling alone. Mine started showing that gritty hesitation in the cycle at around the 600-round mark, even with the ammo it liked. The magazine release was snappy at first, but mine started sticking and occasionally failing to hold mags flush unless I slammed them home. The slide stop was even worse. I had it locking back with rounds still in the mag more times than I'd like to admit. Add to that the frame wear that starts to show on the aluminum rails, and it's clear this thing just isn't built to take a real beating. For a pistol with Kimber's name on it, the Solo Carry couldn't even hang past 1,000 rounds before things got sketchy. Making it to 1,500 could be possible, but you have to baby it like a collectible, and that's not what carry guns for. SCCY CPX-2. The SCCY CPX-2 is one of those guns that seems like a steal when you first see it. It's sub 250, made in the USA, 10+1 capacity in 9mm, lightweight at around 15 ounces, and compact enough for carry. I mean, for a lot of folks on a tight budget, it checks all the boxes. That's exactly why I picked one up. But after actually running the thing like I do with every gun I might carry, drills, range days, different ammo, I found out real quick it wasn't built to go the distance. It starts showing cracks, literally and figuratively, way before 1,500 rounds. The first thing you notice is the trigger. It's a full double-action pull, around 9 pounds and super long. It resets way out there, and over time it just gets gritty. On mine, the trigger stopped returning properly after about 600 to 700 rounds. I had to manually push it forward a few times during a drill. Later found out it was the internal return spring wearing out. It's a small stamped piece inside a fairly basic linkage system, and it just doesn't hold up. Then there's the recoil spring and guide rod. It's a dual spring setup on a polymer rod, and after a few hundred rounds, the whole slide felt like it was slamming forward harder than it should. I pulled it apart and saw the spring was already losing tension. That added wear starts showing up in the frame, which is polymer over a thin aluminum chassis, and the rails started showing shiny, uneven wear before I hit 1,000 rounds. Feeding wasn't reliable either. The feed ramp on mine looked rough out of the box, and hollow points had a 50-50 chance of making it clean. Even with FMJs, I'd get an occasional failure to extract, and the extractor spring didn't feel strong enough to keep up. It's a gun that looks good on the shelf and might feel all right for casual use, but the moment you try to run it hard, the way any carry gun should be tested, and it's clear that the CPX-2 just can't hang. It's very unlikely that it can get through 1,500 rounds without replacing parts or dealing with malfunctions. Taurus PT22. Taurus had the right idea with the PT22, make a tiny, affordable .22 pocket pistol with a tip-up barrel for folks who don't want to rack a slide. And yeah, I'll admit that feature alone got me interested. It's got that old-school Beretta 21A vibe, but with a polymer or alloy frame and a price tag floating around $200. Seemed like the perfect little glove box gun, something to run on the cheap. But once I started actually shooting it like a real firearm, and not just dumping a mag here and there, it became clear this thing was never meant to live past 1,500 rounds. First off, the reliability just isn't there. It's a blowback .22, so you already know it's ammo sensitive, but this one really hates anything that isn't SCY mini-mags. Forget dropping some bulk pack here. Mine would stovepipe, fail to feed, or just straight up refuse to cycle every few mags. And it wasn't just the ammo. The feed ramp on mine looked like it had been finished with a file and a prayer. I had to polish it just to get it to run decently, and even then it never felt right. The trigger is a long, heavy double-action pull. It's about 10, maybe 12 pounds, and it stacks hard near the break. That's rough on such a tiny frame, and I could feel the trigger return spring getting weaker over time. After a few hundred rounds, the resets started feeling sluggish, like something was already wearing out inside. The barrel latch for the tip-up mechanism also started getting loose. By the 800-round mark, the barrel had enough wiggle that it started affecting both cycling and accuracy. The slide itself is lightweight aluminum alloy, and it started showing wear on the rails earlier than I expected. Even basic takedowns became a fight, because the parts just didn't want to line up anymore. Look, for a budget backup or something you only shoot once in a blue moon, maybe the PT22 has a place. But if you're training with it or planning to run a few bricks through it over time, don't count on it getting anywhere near 1,500 rounds without something giving out. Cobra FS380. Cobra's FS380 is one of those guns you buy either out of pure curiosity or because it was sitting in the case for under $150 and you thought, why not? That's exactly how it happened for me. I wasn't expecting much. It's a chunky little blowback .380 with a zinc alloy slide and frame, and let's be real, Cobra's not exactly known for precision craftsmanship. But even with rock-bottom expectations, this thing managed to underdeliver. It's one of the few guns I've owned that felt like it was on borrowed time right out of the box, and I wouldn't bet a mag on it. Much more 1,500 rounds. The first thing you notice when shooting the FS380 is how stiff and awkward the slide feels. That Zamak frame and slide combo makes it heavy for its size. It's around 23 ounces. And while that helps a little with recoil, it also means everything inside is working against soft metal. The rails wear fast, and by the 300 to 400 round mark, I could already feel the slide starting to wobble on the frame a bit. That's not something you want to notice mid-range sessions. Feeding and extraction were hit or miss right from the start. The magazine is thin, holds 7 rounds, and uses a weak spring with a plastic follower that feels like a dollar store toy. I was getting failure to feed on FMJs right out of the second box. The extractor is a tiny little piece of metal that started losing tension around round 500. At one point, I was clearing stovepipes every other mag. And when the firing pin finally deformed around 800 or so, that was the last time I brought it to the range. The gun's just not built to be a workhorse. Everything about it, the materials, the fit, the internals, screams short lifespan. It's not just about quality control, it's the design itself. If you're looking for a range toy you'll eventually throw in the junk drawer, fine. But if you actually plan on running this thing past 1,000 rounds, let alone 1,500, you're setting yourself up for failure. Keltech P11. Keltech's always had this rep for thinking outside the box, and when they dropped the P11, it caught my attention. A subcompact 9mm, double stack, 10+1 capacity in a gun smaller than most single stacks at the time for around $250. It looked like the perfect cheap carry piece. But after owning one and running it like I would any carry gun, regular training, drills, dry fire, live fire, you name it, and I found out real quick this thing wasn't built for the long haul. The truth is, most P11s start showing serious wear before they can hit 1,000 rounds. The first issue has to do with the rails. Keltech used a polymer frame with tiny steel inserts, and that slide just doesn't ride clean. After a few hundred rounds, mine had visible gouging along the frame where the slide was chewing into the plastic around the rails. It only got worse the more I shot it. Then there's the trigger. It's long, heavy, and rough. It's double action only, around 9 pounds, and feels like dragging a cinder block through sand. The little return spring in there? Mine snapped before I even hit the 1K mark. Replacing it's not hard, but man, that shouldn't be happening that early. The recoil spring assembly rides on a polymer guide rod, and after maybe 800 rounds, mine had a slight bend, enough to cause feeding issues. You could feel it dragging during reassembly. Barrel lockup got sloppy too. I noticed a little play in the barrel hood and lug after a couple of sessions at the range, and accuracy took a nosedive from there. The worst part, though, is the mag catch. It's plastic, and with the P11's snappy recoil, it started to wear out. I had a mag drop during fire around the 1,100 round mark. Not a full eject, just enough to kill the next cycle. And in a carry gun, that's a deal breaker. I get what Keltech was trying to do. Small, light, affordable 9mm. But they pushed too far on materials and design shortcuts. If you're just pocket carrying and shooting it once a year, maybe it holds up. But if you're training with it, pushing it, expecting it to last, just don't count on it getting to 1,500 rounds in one piece. Sig Mosquito. If you've ever picked up a Sig Mosquito thinking you were getting a budget-friendly little brother to the P226, you're not alone. I fell for it too. It had the Sig name, the same general look, and felt decent in the hand. But once I started running ammo through it, that illusion fell apart quick. This thing is one of the most ammo-picky rimfires I've ever owned, and by the time I hit 1,000 rounds, I was already wondering why I didn't just get a Ruger or a Browning instead. The Mosquito only really works if you feed it high-velocity ammo like SCY mini-mags. You try anything else, like Winchester Bulk, Federal, Remington Golden Bullets, and you're clearing stovepipes and light strikes every couple mags. Sig even included a second recoil spring in the box to help with different loads, but all that really did was confirm they knew it was a problem. The recoil spring is too stiff out of the gate, and that causes most of the cycling issues. What really starts killing it before 1,500 rounds, though, is the wear and tear. The slide isn't steel, it's Zamac, which, for those who don't know, is a soft zinc alloy that just doesn't hold up under extended use. Mine started showing wear on the rails and at the breech face before I was even halfway through my third brick of ammo. The hammer spring is weak, which means light primer strikes are a constant headache. And don't even get me started on the gunk buildup. The firing pin channel clogs fast, especially if you're shooting anything less than clean ammo. The slide stop started acting up on mine too. Wouldn't lock back on empty mags, and that started around the 800 to 900 round mark. By the time I passed 1,200 rounds, the trigger felt mushy, the slide fit felt sloppy, and accuracy was noticeably worse. It's the kind of gun that looks great in the case, feels good for the first couple sessions, and then slowly lets you down the more you use it. Honestly, the Mosquito had potential, but it just wasn't built to last. Past 1,500 rounds? You're lucky if it even gets there without throwing in the towel. Remington R51. The Remington R51 fooled a lot of folks, including me. It looked slick, felt good in the hand, and the whole quote-unquote classic design meets modern carry thing sounded like a win. But the moment I started putting real rounds through it, the truth came out fast. This gun doesn't hold up. Not under pressure, not over time, and definitely not past 1,500 rounds. It runs on a Peterson hesitation lock system, which sounds fancy until you realize it brings more problems than benefits. That fixed barrel sits inside an aluminum frame with a steel slide, but the tolerances are all over the damn place. The feed ramp on mine was slightly off, just enough to send rounds nosediving into the frame. Hollow points were a gamble, and even ball ammo started hiccuping after a couple hundred rounds. Then there's the recoil spring assembly. It's a dual non-captive setup that feels like a mousetrap every time you try to reassemble it. Mine shifted during firing more than once. Trigger reset was inconsistent. The slide would hang just short of battery, and I even got light primer strikes by the 800 round mark. The internal extractor chipped already before I hit 4 digits. Add to that some awkward slide bite thanks to the low-sitting frame, and you start to wonder how this thing ever made it out of the factory. I also noticed premature wear, the finish stripping off the rails, slight peening on the rear lock surfaces, and a generally rough cycling feel that got worse the more I shot it. And yeah, Remington tried to clean it up with succeeding versions of the gun, but by then the word was out. The R51 just isn't reliable. It's a pistol that looks like it means business, but taps out early. If you're counting on your carry gun to survive real training or defensive use, this ain't the one.